Morning, everybody. It's lovely to see you. Thank you so much for attending today, this catch up with Retirement Living. I'm Pam Mastrantonio. I'm the Managing Director of Retirement Living. And with me today, you won't be able to see them, but I've got my colleagues, Vanessa Pritchard-Wilkes, who is the Director of Retirement Living, and two of our Heads of Service, Lindsay Leach and Dawn Aston-Adams. So thank you for joining. So today we're going to talk about, and Vanessa will move us on the presentation. There we go. So we're going to talk about, we had a recent resident survey and Vanessa's going to talk us through the responses to that and some of the things that survey responses brought out and some of our priorities around that. A little update on rent and service charges for the coming financial year. Our 60th birthday celebration, so Housing 21 turned 60 years old this year. Very exciting, and we're wanting to celebrate with you all. So a little update on that. A resident forum update, some incoming legislation that we're busy working on. And if you have any questions at all, please, we can't see you, so please do pop them into the chat box and our trusty heads of service will pick them up and make sure that we answer them.
So good morning everyone, I'm Vanessa and I'm going to start the presentation. So thank you Pam for the introduction and welcome all. So hopefully you will have received your survey between June and September last year. So we undertook a census, so we sent a survey to all of our households. And this year it included the tenant satisfaction measures, which is a new set of questions that has been brought in by the regulator of social housing. So all housing providers will be asking the same questions of their residents. So for the first time, you'll get the opportunity to be able to see the responses of other housing providers as well. So our target is to achieve 95% overall satisfaction from you, our residents, which is a stretching target, but one we're determined to achieve. This year we got a overall satisfaction of 86%, which is still very good, but we're striving to do better. So what we've done is every scheme that had 10 or more responses got its own bespoke report with the responses to the survey on. And we're working with that and with your local managers to ensure that every scheme has its individual action plan, and this should be done by March. What we've also done as well is we've ranked all of the schemes dependent on the level of satisfaction that the residents have expressed, and we will be targeting some support on those amber and red schemes to identify where there's a lack of satisfaction and what we can do to increase it. So if we look at the results from the survey, we see some themes coming out of that. There's a theme around complaints and how effective we are at handling complaints, ASB and neighbourhood, and communication and effectiveness. So we'll go on to talk about each of these three themes and the actions that we're proposing to do in response to them. So apologies for the vast amount of information on this slide, but hopefully it will be clear to you. So in terms of complaints, we're scoring a 45% satisfaction rate in terms of how we handle complaints at the moment. So it's kind of on the low side, but we're above the sector average, which is around 34%. So we have a target to get up to 55% satisfaction next year. And we also have a target to have no ombudsman service failures. And we also want to increase our satisfaction from 71% to 80% in terms of listening and acting on your views. So how are we going to do that? We're going to look at the complaints procedure, and we really want to work at getting it right first time. We're going to increase training for the people who handle our complaints. We've got a new process to ensure that those stage 1 complaints are of a really high quality, so you don't need to go to stage 2. We're aiming to actually resolve those complaints at stage 1. There is a new complaint handling code which is coming out, which I will speak about in a little while. We're also following up, we do this already, following up with complainants from our research team to understand what it's like to go through our complaints process and what we can do to make it better for you. We want to create a customer first culture. We're going to co-produce a customer charter which sets out the standards that you should expect from us as your landlord. And also we want to get better at understanding complaints, analysing the data underneath all of that, looking at our records of formal and informal complaints, all of which we want to use to increase our effectiveness of handling your complaints. So in terms of communication, we want to get better at listening to your views and acting on them. We want to increase the effectiveness of keeping you informed and how you hear from us. And so a number of ways we'll do this. We want to improve our regional communication and engagement. So you've got your operational, your regional operational management, and we want to work with them to get performance updates. We want to gather themes from what you're speaking about to them, so we can speak about those at a national level. And we also want to increase our engagement. So we have these engagements events, and we want to do more of these and just really get closer to you and make sure that you're up to date on everything that we're doing. So we want to standardise that local engagement as well. Your operational managers should be visiting you between 4 and 6 weeks to your scheme. So we want to make sure that that is happening and that is effective and it's happening in a standardised way. And then we want to introduce interactive sessions with you as well. We've also introduced something called You Said We're Listening into your court newsletter. So we want to make sure that that is actually used systematically across the whole of the country and all of our schemes, and so you know what we're doing with what you are telling us to improve our services to you. And now it's back over to Pam.
Okay, so antisocial behaviour in neighbourhood. We know that antisocial behaviour is something that is really, really important that we deal with effectively. So our satisfaction with handling antisocial behaviour, we have a target to improve that from 69% to 76%. And satisfaction that we, as a landlord and you as our residents, make a positive contribution to the neighbourhood, we want to increase that to 73%. So how are we going to do that? Firstly, in terms of antisocial behaviour, we're going to make sure that we explain how our antisocial behaviour policies and procedures work, but also the definition of what antisocial behaviour is. We find that particularly in communal settings, sometimes it's more of a neighbour dispute than antisocial behaviour, and not that it means that it's any less important to deal with, but the way in which we will deal with it is different depending on whether it's classed as antisocial behaviour or it's classed as something else. So the remedies and the actions available to us are different depending on what that is. So we need to make sure that we're clear about expectations and we're clear about what actual antisocial behaviour is. We have our operational managers within retirement living who spend the majority of their time out on our schemes. We want to make sure that they review on a monthly basis every case of antisocial behaviour and just make sure that that's being handled well and is progressing in the right way. And to be able to do that, we are improving the training for the operations managers and also our local managers on our antisocial behaviour process and procedure, and we're currently looking at the policy around that to make sure it's up to date with new legislation. Making a positive contribution to the neighbourhood. We want to be able to support schemes to obtain their own funding so that they can enhance the activities on that site and bring communities in, join in with community events. We're looking to promote the use of volunteer days to help initiatives in the local area. So at Housing 21, our employees have volunteer days, which means that they can come out onto schemes and do something to help that local community. We want to promote that further than we do currently, and we will have a resident satisfaction fund in 2024, which will be a pot of money to help in local schemes, get involved in the community, run events, bring communities into the court, and just really try to help facilitate that. So we're looking at how we do that with our residents now. And the use of new resident satisfaction fund to support that community engagement, so that wider engagement with the community, which we think is really important to making a positive contribution. So overall, we want to increase our satisfaction from 83% to 95%, and satisfaction with the management team to increase from 83 to 90%. Our other actions are, we're going to have action plans for all courts where the satisfaction for the overall was less than 70%. So they will have a bespoke action plan attached to them to try and help with that satisfaction. Our regional operations managers and our heads of service, which is the senior team within retirement living, they will visit all of those courts that have that lower satisfaction or satisfaction below 70%, and they'll have scrutiny and oversight of those action plans. To make sure that every scheme is getting the attention it deserves to bring that satisfaction up. And we're also going to be issuing some guidance notes to distribute with our next year's survey to try and make sure that we really do get the information we need to improve services. So that was the resident satisfaction survey, which I hope you found useful. I'm going to just move us straight on to rent and service charges, and this is just a quick update. So you will have had meetings, I hope, on all of our schemes around service charge budgets and service charge setting, and you will also be aware that obviously rent increases come into effect from April. So the rent and service charge letters should be landing on your doorstep soon. They've been posted out now. Our rents are increasing by 7.7% in April, so that's a formula that we adhere to in the sector, which is September CPI plus 1%. So this year that will be 7.7%. And the service charge and utilities, you will have had this from your operations managers that we did have a large utility deficit from last year. This year, I really hope that the prices they have been falling for utilities. I hope they continue to fall. So we are building a surplus this year, which will help with that deficit, but should also make sure that residents' costs are lower next year, I certainly hope. We continue to support our Help and Hands fund. So this is our fund for those finding themselves with unexpected bills and unexpected financial hardship. And if anybody wants to apply for that, then see your local housing manager. It's an easy process, and we can help with those unexpected costs. And also we will have our satisfaction response fund for residents this year as well. So we are using some of that rent increase to try and help those residents who need assistance, and also to make sure that we're providing the services and the environment to increase satisfaction with our satisfaction response fund. So I mentioned at the beginning that Housing 21 turns 60 this year, so big milestone for us, set up by the Royal British Legion 60 years ago, so 1964, so very, very exciting for us, and we want you, all of our residents, to get involved with us to celebrate that. So these are just some of the things that we're looking at: having a photo competition, so showcasing life with Housing 21 through your fantastic photographs. We're going to be having 60th birthday parties, and we will be providing some financial support to make sure that they happen on every one of our schemes. So you'll get involved with those across the summer, I hope. If you're celebrating your diamond wedding anniversary, first of all, enormous round of applause for 60 years. I mean, honestly, what an achievement. But we want to hear from you. So if you're celebrating that 60th wedding anniversary this year, we want to hear from you as well. And as I said, we are expecting all of our schemes to hold a fantastic summer celebration between May and September. And if you can do it on Monday, the 12th of August, that's our actual 60th birthday. So hopefully that will be a great day. But more will be revealed in due course. If you have any ideas for celebrating our 60th birthday, please do bring them forward. But really, really looking forward to the summer this year. It's going to be brilliant.
Excellent. Excuse me. So we've spoken about resident engagement and how we really want to hear from you and for you to get involved in shaping our services and how we move forward. So just want to show you here some of the initiatives that the Retirement Living Resident Forum have been involved with. So we've got sort of 30-ish people that are involved at the moment in this, with many more being contacted via email, etc. So they've been involved in policy reviews. So what we want to do is really put the resident at the heart of everything we do. So our policies need to be relevant to our residents. So we'd love to have the resident voice in there. So they've been involved in the aids and adaptation policy and repairs policy. We also have consulted on a number of initiatives, so that we know that what we're doing is what you want us to do. So a couple of those examples, we've recently launched a How Does Your Garden Grow project, and that had the resident input. We're soon to be launching a Housing Perks app. So again, resident input into that, and the website workshop as well, and I'll come on to talk about the website in a minute. So really, we want to consult with you and get your views on what we're doing. So some great work being done there. We also, we're highly regulated, as you know, so we've got a standing agenda item on the forum around the Social Housing Regulation Act, which I'll speak more about in a minute, and the tenant satisfaction measures which underpinned our survey that we've spoken about, and also Civica, our housing system. So there's some of the ways in which we're hearing the resident voice, and we'd love to get more people actively involved in that. So if that is something that you're interested in, then either speak to your scheme manager, your operations manager, or go onto the website where you can express your interest as well. And we do have regional engagement forums, so lots of ways in which you can become involved. So we'd love to hear from you. Just on the website, so we had a survey last year asking for your views on what the website should look like. So thank you everyone who took part in that. And we are building a new website. So again, we'd love to hear from you. We've recently pulled together a digital resident forum as well, so we'll be actively engaging with those. So we're looking for lots of different skills, knowledge, views, etc. But please do go onto the website, have a look at how it is at the moment, and if you've got any feedback, please do let us have it. Good, and ways to improve it are all welcome. So just to reflect on a little bit of the legislation that we're seeing at the moment, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of change happening within the sector. One of the main ones of which is the Social Housing Regulation Act. So you may be aware of this. This really arose out of Grenfell and the awful events there. And it soon became apparent that residents weren't listened to by that landlord. So this act is to really rebalance the relationship between landlord and residents. We have to give you all the information that you need to be able to hold us to account, to get the services that you want. There's an increased focus on the safety of your home, on the availability of information. So there's lots more information around that on our website if you're interested in that, but you will be hearing more about it in the coming months. I alluded to a new complaint handling code earlier by the Housing Ombudsman. One of the main elements of this will be the removal of informal complaints. We're doing lots of work around this at the moment, in terms of a new process, in terms of revamping the literature that we make available to our residents around how you can complain, etc. So again, resident input will be vital in that. And then a couple of parts of the Social Housing Regulation Act that are out for consultation at the moment. So we've got AWOB's law, which came out of the tragic death of the young boy in Rochdale that was exposed to direct and prolonged mould. And so coming out of that, we've got a law which has got strict timescales for reporting on 29 hazards at the moment, so it's far wider than damp and mould. It includes excessive heat or cold, noise, falls, fire, etc. So again, we'll be responding to that consultation, but also the main reason for that is putting the health and safety of you, our residents, at the heart of everything, and making sure that we're responsive to any issues that arise. And then also another part of the Act is the competence and conduct of housing employees. So this is really looking to professionalise our employees. People at a different level will be required to undertake a housing related qualification to make sure that they have the knowledge and are equipped with delivering the best service to you that is possible. So again, if you've got any views on any of that, or indeed if you want to be part of the consultation, please feel free to contact us. We'd love to hear from you. And that is the end of our formal presentation. So it's over to questions, if there are any. Thank you.
Okay, so we do have a couple of questions. So one of the questions is, will the resident conferences be taking place this year? And if so, when and where will they be?
Shall I answer that one? So we're not planning to do big resident conferences this year. The reason for that is we're wanting to do smaller but more local events, which means that everybody can attend. So rather than just a few people from each court or people who are near a particular venue, one of the things we struggled with last year is wherever we put the conferences on, it stopped some people from attending. It was just too far. So we did find last year in particular that they did seem a lot less accessible to a lot of our residents who would have liked to have come. So this year we are planning on running events, as I've said, across the summer, but they will be on every scheme. So every resident who wants to get involved can do so. There are also other channels, so you can join some of our more national residents groups or regional residents groups, or contact us directly. So there are still other channels for you to speak with us, which I hope you would find valuable. But in terms of events, we want them on every court so they're accessible to every resident this year.
Okay, great, thank you. Another question that we've got is, when will Housing 21 start communicating with us by email?
You want me to take this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're speaking to our communications colleagues, and we're shortly to start doing this. We're going to do a pilot to make sure that we're doing it properly. So we do have a number of email addresses. So we're going to ask for some pilot schemes that want to take part in this. We'll do a small pilot, and then we'll assess how effective that is, and then we'll do a rollout if it is effective. We want to move away from paper-based where we can. We need to move with the world as it's moving at the moment. So we are starting in this process, and if residents are interested in being communicated in this way, then we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Next question, is there a budget for the 60th anniversary celebration, which Pam did allude to in the earlier part of the presentation? Yes, there is a budget, and the operations managers will be sort of divulging what that might be and things that might be done. I don't know whether you've anything you'd like to add, Pam, to that?
No, just to say there will be a budget. It's across every scheme, which is why I'm saying we want every scheme to work with their residents to hold something that is really good, really personal to them, where you have those diamond wedding anniversaries where people perhaps were born in the 1960s or have some other connection with that, favourite movies, favourite songs. What was Top of the Pops in 1964 when we were born? I can tell you it was the Beatles' Hard Day Night, actually, in August. So it's a hard day's night, isn't it? So all of those themes 60s fancy dress, they're just endless. My mind is whirring with what we can do for our senior team. So they're all tipped off that I'm expecting some fancy dress. But yes, there is a budget. It'll be an amount to cover a really nice buffet and some decorations. And then our local teams can build on that and embellish as they wish. I'm looking forward to seeing all of your photographs. It's going to be great.
Yeah, me too. So a couple of questions. These two are related. So to access the funding, do you need to have a residents association? So the simple answer to that one is no, you don't. And then it was, how do you set up a residents association? Well, given that you don't need to for that funding, but if you do want to set up a residents association, there is a handbook, and please speak to your local housing manager or your operations manager, and they will guide you through the process. And that, I think, is all of our questions. So without further ado, thank you all very much for joining us, and we hope to see you again on our next coffee catch up